Hi guys, it's Kelly here and I'm back with another video. Today's video is featuring the new release from Colorado Craft Company. I did a no-line coloring version with, what is it called? The You Bake Me Happy, I think is what it's called. But then this time I'm also incorporating Sweet Life and what's the one with the little raccoon? Hold on. I'm gonna get it, y'all. I'm gonna get it. What is it? Sweetest by far. Ha, finally got it. So anyway, here I chose to do a mini slim line because of the idea that I had for the card. I thought it would be really cute to have these little critters kind of like peeking over the counter at this oversized cupcake. And so in order for them to fit, all my little cuties to fit on a card, A2 just was not wide enough. So I did a mini slim line, which is 3 1/4 by 6 1/4. And then here, I'm going to use my ruler to just create my horizon line now that I've laid everything out and I know where I need to put it to fit. So I gave myself a 1-inch border at the bottom, and that's going to act as my countertop. We're going to get right into the textures that I created in the background to help kind of bring our scene to life. They're really easy. They're super beginner friendly. If you're just getting into scene cards, these are things that you can use that will help kind of pull your scene together. So you can use just alcohol markers and color in the background. If you've watched my videos for any length of time, then you know that I prefer to use ink blending where I can, just to save on that Copic ink because it is expensive. So I'm using scattered straw to put in my kind of like wall paint color. And that I have the countertop masked off. Now I could have gone brown. That's what I did. I did a brown wood grain with the other card. But I thought that I would switch it up and do gray marble. I have another video where I showed doing marble, but it is a little bit old. So I just thought that would be, something kind of interesting to touch back on, because these type of textures, these real life things like wallpaper and the different kind of countertops that you can have really do bring the whole scene together. And especially with something like this where I don't have a lot else going on in the scene, just these little critters and this oversized cupcake, they can help kind of bring it to life. So since I was doing a gray marble, I used my hickory smoke, very light-handed. I kept most of the shading to the edge of the countertop. We will add more shading to the edge of the counter, but we will do that once we have our characters in place. So I'm going to put this tape back in place to help me it act like a buffer so I don't take my lines down too far with the wallpaper. And I am going to do kind of like a diamond pattern. Now my ruler, and this may be different for your ruler, but my ruler is 1 inch wide. So I'm going to use the chisel tip of my marker to create these stripes. And I'm just doing them the ruler width apart. So every time I'm scooting it, I'm lining it up with the line I just put down, and then I will put a line to the right. And this makes sure that they are equally spaced, but also that chisel tip makes it super easy to get a straight, even line. And you could do this, you could do horizontal lines, you could do vertical lines, you could do a diagonal like I'm doing. You could do them closer together, not a ruler width apart. So you could do this very easily just by using your ruler and the chisel tip to create really interesting designs in your wallpaper or your background. Now for the countertops, this seems like it would be really complicated, but it's not. Don't overthink it. So basically you're just going to do a little bit of dark lines. I am starting with my C5. If you are nervous about it, you could start with your C1 and then work up to your C5. But basically we're just going to create little lines. Some are going to be a little bit more blobby, like where they're meeting, there'll be more color, but you don't want to be following any particular pattern because marble does not. So once I have the darker lines put down, I'm going to kind of go over them with the C3 and kind of stretch them out a little bit. And then I may add in 1 or 2 with the C3 as well, just to be a little bit lighter. And then again, I'm going to go over top of them with the C1. What this is doing is the lighter colors are kind of bleaching out that darker color, and it's blending it into the background, so that those veins that you would have of the marble are softer. What really brings the whole thing together, though, is going in with your colorless blender and just kind of going over top of it. That helps give it that kind of more realistic marble texture, because some of the color is more removed in other areas. Here, I felt like I had some, kind of veins that I could fill in more space with. And again, marble comes in all different kinds of patterns, so you could make this as busy or as simple as you would like. I did not go back in with the C5. When I went back in and added more, I went in with the C3 and blended that out with the C1 and then called it good. I will link to that other marble video. Like I said, it is some years older, but it goes through a similar but slightly different way to do the marble, and it does start with the lightest color. So now that I have my background textures, I am going to set that aside and I'm going to do my stamping. I am going to stamp and die cut out my images, but if you wanted to do this as a 1-layer scene, you totally could. You would just stamp your characters. You'd stamp the cupcake first, because remember, whatever we want to see the most of, we stamp first in a masked scene. So you would stamp the cupcake first, then you would stamp your characters, and then you would mask them off, and then do the same thing we just did. The dies just help us so that we don't have to do the masking. So here I've stamped these out. In the other card that I did with that cute little kitty from Bake Me Happy, I did no line. This time I wanted to do the black outline, and so I stamped in ink that was safe for alcohol markers. Here, this is like the little frosting on the cupcake, so I wanted to add some sprinkles to that, so I'm just stamping that down, and then we're going to get into the coloring. So to pick my colors for my scene, I went with yellow and gray in the background because I knew that yellow and gray would work really nicely together. So the other color, I could have done my pig black and white, or pink. I went with pink because I knew my cat and my raccoon were going to be pretty neutrals. So this was my one opportunity to kind of bring in a different color. So that is why I went with the pink pig. So any of these are, they're all drawn the same way with their little like paws, or in this case, hooves. They're kind of up by their face. So you're going to have some shadow behind that. And then he has this little snout. That snout is going to stick out farther than his face. So there will be shading behind the snout as well. And then underneath the ears. So I chose some pinks that would work well together, but they're also more on the peachy side. You could absolutely do like a hot pink pig. That would be super cute. But because I had already had so many neutrals, I chose to go with a more kind of subdued pink. And then for the lightest color, I'll make sure that I get that on the top of the nose and like more towards the top of the head and the side of his ears. For his little hooves, I actually looked it up because I wasn't sure, like, what color are pink pig hooves? Turns out they're really kind of close to the pink color, quite a bit, but I wanted them to stand out just a little bit against the pink, so I decided to do them kind of a lighter gray color. They are going to be slightly darker than the countertop, so they will still stick out, but not like full-on black. We are going to go full on black for our little raccoon mask and his paws. I'm going to be honest, because I feel like being transparent is important. I think I went a little too dark with my raccoon. I wish I would have lightened him up a little bit. But that's okay. I'll get him on the next time, because that certainly is not going to be the last time I color this little guy. So it's all right. He's a little dark this time around, but not his mask. Like, I'm confident in the mask around his eyes and his little paws. It's the rest of it. I went with a warm gray and I went on the darker side, and I wish I would have stayed a little bit on the lighter side. So I just thought this would be, I don't know, reminded me very much of my daughter, because she's so little. She's only 2.5. So like when she is standing by the counter, she can just like barely peep over. And so whenever like I'm making cakes for birthdays or we make cupcakes, like I think they must just look so enormous to her. And she's always asking you to share. Like if I have something she wants, and whatever I have she wants, she's always like, Mommy, will you share with me? Mommy, please share with me. Mommy, share with me. I just want a bite. Just one bite. Just want a bite. Like, she totally knows. And then she's so polite about it. It's really hard to tell her no. So, because she is in that stage right now where everything that you have, she wants, I use that sometimes to my advantage when it comes to getting her to eat like good, healthy choices. So for lunch the one day, she wouldn't really tell me what she wanted to eat. And so I was like, okay, well, Mommy's going to make herself a bagel. And so I made my bagel and I set it down on the kitchen table. And she was like, will you share with me? And I was like, of course I'll share with you. And so Peanut, my son, was like, Mom, she's eating your whole bagel. And I was like, oh, sweetheart, that was never my bagel. That was always her bagel. She just didn't know it. Because sometimes it's just gotta be like that. That's just how it works sometimes. But she is very, very cute with the wanting you to share your bite of something with her. She always gets me. I can't tell her no. So here you can see the raccoon, as I stated previously, did get pretty dark. I added those same pinks from the pig into his ears, and I will do that for the cat as well. But since I was like, ooh, this is a little bit dark, I'm actually going to go in with the W1. So still in that same family with the warm grays, I'm just going to go over top of it and try to bleach it out just a little bit to make it a little bit lighter. And that did work. So I was happier with it. I just overall wish that I wouldn't maybe have gone as dark. Or maybe I should have colored the cat a little bit darker so that it would offset the balance since they're on opposite sides of the card. I'm not really sure. I just know he felt a little bit dark. I did give him blue eyes because you guys know Blue is my boyfriend and I have to find a way to work it into every card. Like, who are we kidding? So for the cat, the first time I colored him or her, somebody made a comment about that actually. Like, they were like, you keep calling him a him, but that definitely looks like a her. I agree. I don't know why I keep calling him a him, but I don't know. Boys can wear bows too, I guess. So anywho, the first time I colored the cat, I did gray because that's what my sister's cat was, Smokey. And so, like, when I think of cats, that's immediately what I think of. But this time I decided to go with a warmer brown, more of like an orange base, maybe what you would see like with a tabby cat. And so to give her a little bit of texture, I wanted to bring in those like little stripes that you typically see, on the backs of their heads and through their forehead, maybe a little on their side of their face. So I'm going to go through and I'm going to add my shading like I would normally do. But also I'm going to try to create that little striped bit. It is more challenging to do all in one go. So if you're struggling with it, I would suggest doing what I did, which is coloring your image the way that you would like your shadows to lay down, and then going back after the fact and adding those little detail things. It is easier to get them to maintain some separation so that you can still see the stripes, but they're not like jarring. If you go back in and then put the darker stripe in and then kind of blend it out. So you'll see what I mean here in just a second. But we are, as I'm sure if you are from the US, the rest of you are as well, gearing up for the 4th of July. So we are going to be doing a cookout. My wonderful husband spent quite a bit of time getting our pool heater set up. Like, we delayed the pavers, and I helped bring the pavers back there, and I helped with some mathematics, but that was really the extent of my helping. My husband did it. And then our buddy Brandon, my kids call him Uncle Brandon, he came over after we had the gas line run and helped my husband do like the water and the electric to get it up and running. I'm so excited to finally have it in place because in Ohio we have such a short swim season if you have to rely on just a solar cover to heat your pool. So it's something that we have been contemplating, getting and saving and all those things for quite some time. So happy to have it here. And it looks like we're going to have decent weather, like, fingers crossed. I don't want to jinx it. So their little stripes are in. You saw I went in with the lightest color and just kind of blended over top of them. And then there's those pinks that I was talking about in the little ear. I also did the pink nose. And then because I already know I have like the pink of the pig, but I already know that I have yellow in my background, I decided to do the little glasses yellow. I showed you the YR24, a Y21, and a YR21. I didn't really use the YR21. It wasn't working as well as I would have liked it. So I used the Y21 and the YR24 for the glasses. They do kind of blend in with my little kitty cat's face, but that's okay. And then because I know I have a cherry to go on top of my cupcake, I knew I was going to have red. And so that's how I picked my bow color. We've talked about this several times in scene cards. We like to repeat the same colors because it helps give our card cohesion, and it makes it look as though everything makes sense together and it's not just wild and crazy. If you chose to do this card as an A2 size, like maybe you just put like the kitty on one side and the pig on one side and have the cupcake in the middle, you could then include a lot of the other elements in this collection. So you could maybe include the little birthday presents that are in with the raccoon. Those are cute. There's also a balloon and a party hat. Like you could build the scene up taller, like put the cake or the presents in the background. But since I did this mini slim line, I didn't have a lot of room for those extra things. It's really just like a zoomed in kind of snapshot of these little critters eyeballing this cupcake, being tempted by this little cupcake. So I also recently did a cupcake card where I talked about like the easiest way to do Copic shading, like a technique that's super easy for adding shading, and the example that I used is the cupcake wrapper. If you missed that, that is also one that's super beginner friendly. I would highly recommend watching that if you're just getting to know your Copics, or maybe even if you're, an intermediate Copic colorist and you're just maybe looking to learn something new. Maybe this is something that you have not seen before. But I chose to do red for my cupcake holder, even though I just did a red cupcake holder. I chose to do it because I didn't want to introduce too many colors. I had a lot of neutrals going on with my animals. I had the red bow and the red cherry, and the red cupcake holder kind of makes that visual triangle for me. So I just went with the red. I opted, the last time I colored them, I did a white cupcake, chocolate cupcake with white frosting. So this time I thought that I would do a vanilla cupcake with chocolate frosting, just to kind of switch it up. So for the actual cupcake portion, I am going to incorporate some stippling. This is another texture that I use pretty often. So I kind of went in and did a little bit of shading, and then I'm going to use that marker to do just a series of dots kind of moving toward the center. And this is going to help give that cupcake more of that like baked, like spongy texture look. And I will do this with all of my colors. I did keep them on the lighter side. This is the same colors I used to color the cat with, but I didn't use the, the 37 and the 39. So I just kept it super light. For the last color, I'm going to go in and fill in the whole cupcake with that E31, and then I will go back in and do the dots just to further kind of blend those in and create that texture. Now remember, the vast majority of this top portion of the cupcake we're not going to see because we have this frosting. So you could do them, where you did not add this portion, where you didn't have frosting and it was more of a muffin. That would be super cute, especially with the other things that they have in the collection. They have like a little chef's hat and like a little flour sack or a sugar sack. Like that would be really cute. Who was it? I think it was Amy Young, who I'm just endlessly fangirling over because she's fantastic. But she did one where like Chris Lauren has these little mice that she draws as well. And so she incorporated like the little mice into one of her cards with the little sack and the little chef's hat and stuff. It was super cute. I don't know if she has a video on it, but it is over on her Instagram, Amy Young Forever, just in case you have never heard of her. I would highly recommend. Her coloring is superb. So anywho, working through this little bit of chocolate frosting, I am avoiding my sprinkles. The sprinkles I intend to do in a rainbow color. And for that rainbow, I will just be repeating the same colors that we've already seen in the card. The blue from the raccoon's eyes, green for the cherry stem, which we'll get to shortly, and then the yellow for the wall, red, you get what I'm saying. I'm trying to think. Oh, you know what? I completely forgot to mention. It's free shipping days. So Colorado Crafts always has 2 days where they do free shipping, or if you're international, I think it's like shipping for like $6.95 or something. So that is, I believe today is the last day for free shipping if you're interested in purchasing and saving on that. So I cut all these out with their coordinating dies, and now I am going to start putting them together. My cat sits right next to my little cupcake, and they were kind of blending in together a little bit. So I went over the cupcake with a slightly more muted brown color just to get a little bit of separation. And then I'm going to add glue to the bottom of the cupcake and glue that to my cupcake holder. And then any of the white bits that are sticking out, I'm going to fill in with that darker cupcake color, just so it helps it to become more cohesive. It's no big secret that I don't love a white outline in my die cut, especially not in my scene cards. So I do typically color them to blend them in. So I'm going to line up the black line from the stamping on like the frosting to the cupcake, and then I'm going to fill that in. I'm also going to add a little bit of a shadow underneath this frosting, just to help them look like they go more together. So I'm using those same colors that we used previously for the cat, because I used the lightest colors to color the cupcake. So now I'm just using some of the darker ones to do the shadow. And then the cherry will go on top there. I do have to put it on my card to make sure that my stem is not taller than my little mini slimline here. So I'm just setting it there to get it the right placement. And then I will blend in that edge with the chocolate frosting. And then the same thing is going to be true, though I did not leave it in. Well, not all of it in. The same thing will be true for my little characters. I will blend them into their scene as well. So I have the pig and the raccoon kind of like buddied up next to each other, almost like they're kind of like pushing each other out of the way. And so I'm laying them down so that their little paws or hooves, their hands, their little creature hands, will sit on top of the counter. And then on the far right-hand side, I will do the same thing with the cat. There's going to be a little gap in between. That's totally okay, because that will be completely filled by our cupcake. So before I can put the cupcake on, I do have to do any of my detail work to the background. Here, I'm filling the white outline in with that same yellow that I used to make the stripes. And then I also am going to go in for the countertop. Now, if you didn't want to add a shadow, you could just fill it in with the C1, just like that, and it would blend in. However, I did want to add a shadow, and at first I just went in with the C3, and then I was like, ooh, this needs to be a little bit darker. So I did end up going back in with the C5, and so for this, I am coloring not only the edge of the die cut, but a little of the countertop as well, to show where they would actually be like leaning on the counter. And then I will blend that out with the C3 and the C1, just like we did with the marble texture. I intend to add my cupcake with with foam adhesive so that it sits up above. But in order to get the shadow correct on the counter, I'm just going to hold it in place there and do just a line or two of the darkest color, because that's what I'm going to color in the white of the cupcake anyway. And then that way it will also have a little bit of a shadow underneath it. Gonna go through and do all the blending of that as well. And then for the detail work, I added some clear Wink of Stella to the bow, to the cat's glasses, to the eyes of the little raccoon. I'm also going to add some white highlights to the glasses, to the whiskers, just like I did last time, that I colored the cat. And then I did add just a couple of little like texture lines for the raccoon to give him like some little lighter white hairs in his fur. That's just another little fun way that you can kind of add texture as well. So I put my foam tape all over the back of my little cupcake. I am going to now put that into position. And then again, I will go in and do the same things that I just did. I added glitter to the sprinkles and to the cherry and some white highlights. The sentiment is one of my favorite things. It says a party without cake is just a meeting, and it's hysterical. And that finished off the entire card. So I hope that you guys enjoyed this tutorial. I hope that it will help you with textures in your backgrounds. Thank you guys so much for joining me. I always appreciate your time, and I will catch you on the next video. Bye.